Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Corbin Harbor, Ulan Gaming, here with a Aztec video. I am in a 1v1 comp versus a Gaul 507. He is playing Russia. And, Russia is pretty famous for, Russia's. It's in the name, after all. So, I figured, the best thing to do against a Rush is to fast industrial. Well, kind of. It's more like a normal industrial if you have a super strat. You know what? You'll see. It's the Skull Knights. We're doing Skull Knights again. I'm sorry. I just really love this strategy, and while I have been learning Aztecs, I am not comfortable enough with any of the other Civs strategies to take them into competitive. And there's been a lot of Russia players recently, and this strategy tends to work pretty well against them for some reason. So that is what we are going to be doing. The reason I have a lot of games that I could have picked for this video, but I picked this one specifically because I think this video it shows how best. This is defending and utilizing your community plaza at its best, at its peak, and I was very happy with how this game turned out and all of my micro involving the community plaza. There wasn't a moment where I felt like I was not actively using the community plaza, that it was constantly on my hotkey, and the community plaza is so integral to the Aztec playstyle, and I wanted to show off just how much it can be used to your benefits, and maybe show off some songs that maybe you didn't even know were particularly useful. So our enemy is a Gaul 507. He is on Russia, as we mentioned. He starts with a Marcus, and he hasn't selected his deck yet. He has a shipment. I'm sure he'll be sending distributives in any second. Yeah, there it is. His deck. I saw his deck in game, and I saw just a shit metric fuck ton of H2 cards, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be in for some early pressure. It is Russia. After all, Strela Combat. There you are. Little interaction over here, but other than that, there wasn't too much interaction between both of us age 1. I did see that he saw this treasure. And when the Grove Rickshaw came around. And so when I saw that, I parked my Explorer right here, and I waited to see if one of these tigers would die to a crack shot. But unfortunately, even though he did spot it, it looks like he didn't actually decide to go for it. So that was that. And I ended up just wasting some time watching that treasure, carefully monitoring it. So this game has a mixture of amazing herding, getting this hunt that was up here all the way into the base behind the coin mine, the berry bush, and the house wall. And then some really awful herding where this hunt right here just... And this hunt right here and this hunt just refused to agree with me the entire game, and it was so frustrating. Sometimes you feel like you keep trying to herd and herd and herd, and then it just doesn't work. And this was one of those games. Aging up with the Elder, because we're going to need the War Hut to help fend off early pressure, which indeed does in fact happen. Russia player, I'm sure he's aging with the Quartermaster. Yep, Quartermaster. 400 wood, very standard Russia stuff. He's got a whole bunch of settlers on wood right now. Oh my god, I mean, my herding was bad, but this is a lot of dead animals. This is a lot of food being wasted here.
Готово. Приказ? Что? Готово.
Okay, at least all of his settlers that are gathering food are on different animals. That at least is a good thing. His explorers just kind of wandering around, trying to scout out the map, you know? Now, normally, when I do this strat, I usually, right around this time, I walk my explorer straight through the enemy's base. But my explorer was a little low health from defeating those 2 tigers that we saw earlier for the... I think it was a wood treasure? No, it was a population treasure with 35 population, so I ended up opting not to. Normally I walk my explorer right through the enemy base so that I can telegraph a rush, and perhaps trick the opponent into thinking that I am going to rush him instead of sit around and go to the industrial age like my deck might suggest instead. So that is normally the reason behind that, but that didn't happen this time. So as for the placement of this war hut, so we have this kind of natural wall here with the coin mine, the berry bushes that can't be crossed, the 2 houses, and now with this war hut here, we can kind of connect it to this tree line and silver mine, and it makes it very difficult to push into from the front and very easy for me to get my villagers behind buildings and behind safety. So that was the reasoning there. And this is something that if you are going to do fast industrial strategies like this, or very turtley strategies where you're just going to sit in your base, you need to figure out how to utilize every single resource you have at your disposal, even not for just gathering resources. I mean, this right here, this is as good as an indestructible wall. Nothing can destroy this. And likewise with all of these, it's something very important. So now my 3 warrior priests have come in, 4 total, and I've started the warrior priest production training. Over here on the enemy team, he's built a blockhouse in base. This is one of the things that I love as Aztec, because if I wasn't playing Aztec, I guarantee his this blockhouse would be like right here. But because I am playing Aztec and he needs to be careful of a rush because that is the reputation Aztec comes with, he puts it in base. And that is just one of the beautiful things about Aztec, is you, as the Aztec player, decide the tempo of the fight. And that is something that really cannot be understated how valuable that is. So at this point, he has sent the distributivism, and it looks like he sent the 700 wood card. Normally by this point you would see perhaps 5 Cossacks instead going for some raiding, but he opts for 700 wood, probably to get some extra defense. He does make 5 musketeers and tries to walk them into my base to see what they can do. If you can see, my explorer is almost at full HP. And my 600 coin has arrived, and I am setting my settlers on it right now, getting ready for my age up. My scout here, I decided to have him go around and search for a forward base. I end up spotting this mango grove here, and now the musketeers are in. So I basically just right-click them with my explorer, with the intention of just keeping them at arm's length. And yeah, no, that's basically what happened. Now I'm luring them into the war hut and popping these settlers into the town center. So now he's got 2 buildings firing upon him, and this musketeer ends up dying, and he hasn't really accomplished much of anything with that push. With this, though, now he knows that he can't easily push into my base unless he prepares a little bit, and he knows that I am, in fact, not being aggressive. So that was some worthwhile information for him. You can see this Eagle Scout here just kind of sieging away, just being annoying. I always like it when my units are annoying. I think it's the best way to go about it. Now he's shipping the 5 Cossacks, followed by the 700 coin. I think he figures at this point he'll probably just try to get to the fortress age to match me, because he knows that's what I'm going for as well. At this point, though, I am about 1/3 of the way to the fortress age already, and yeah. I am aging up with the Chief, which gives my Explorer 30% HP and access to the Swashbuckler attack. Aging to 3 will give it a 30 damage boost for a total of 210 Swashbuckling attack. Very, very valuable resource. Now he's up to 9 musketeers, and he's building a more forward blockhouse at this point because he realizes, oh shit, it's actually kind of safe to go for this. Now his Cossacks come in, and he's finally starting to get his 700 coin in, and yes, he is in fact macroing for an age 3 at this point. Oh wait, no, he's still training musketeers. He should still have enough macro to get to age 3 by the time he collects his 700 coin, though, so it's totally okay. Musketeers on the top, Cossacks on the bottom. I do spot the Cossacks. I move all of these villagers. I end up forgetting about this one right here, which was a little bit unfortunate. And normally I would like to not engage, but I know if he gets past this tree wall, it'll be a lot harder to catch him in this giant vicinity over here. So I engage with my Explorer. And then he gets to age 3, and in comes the Swashbuckling attack, and boom, that's 1, 2, 3, almost dead already. And the Explorer is just being an absolute badass right now, killing 3 of these guys by himself before he needs to retreat. And this whole rush right here is this whole raid is done. This whole raid is done, and there's nothing that they can do. I have 10 warrior priests. Now they all pop on. The musketeer army is coming in. These raids are still going along the back lines. I'm making warriors right now at my community plaza. We're done with the we are done with the warrior priest production. Ceaseless discharge comes back out. He's going to interact with these musketeers over here. And we have these skull knights coming in. They're going to pop out of this war hut right here. And boom! There they are. Immediately fucking shit up. Look at this. Half of his army is already at half HP. And these musketeers are dead. These warriors are out. And I'm just kind of chasing away. I do back away right here. He takes a couple pot shots, but then decides to leave. And this is where I think a lot of Aztec players kind of forget about their dance a little bit, because the Aztecs have this dance. You're about to see it pop up right here. Where are you? Where are you? We already have 6 warrior pieces for some reason. Yeah, there it is. This dance right here is incredible. I loved using this, and boom, just like that, all of my Skull Knights are back to full HP, and I've really only lost 1 Skull Knight at this point. It's like the shipment. It's like the 4 Skull Knight shipment arrived with an extra dude. So now I have more than 300 coin, so I am transferring all of my villagers over to food right here, and I'm keeping the Skull Knights over in that general vicinity to try to counter any more raids. I don't realize he's aging to 3 right now, and with that in mind, with the information that I had access to in mind, I assumed that there would be a 4 Cossack shipment coming as well. At this point, he has 13 Strelets and 17 Musketeers. He's also got these 4 Cossacks up here that just kind of do nothing for a long time. I should have sieged this down. Yeah, I definitely could have sieged that down right there. But now the Strelets are walking in. So I back all the settlers back out. Back the Cossacks... back the Skull Knights back out. And... he backs out, so I just go right back in like it never happened. And you do have to be extremely, extremely watchful. Here's me sending the 900 coin. At this point, I have already sent the 6 Skull Knights, the Smoking Mirror, and now the 900 coin. Smoking Mirror is, once again, as with most Aztec strats, extremely important. Because Ceaseless Discharge, your Aztec Explorer, is easily one of the best units that you have access to, and you need to utilize him at every given opportunity. Because if you don't, you will not live to regret it. This motherfucker is an absolute tank. So at this point, I sent 1 Warrior Priest up to go deal with that 1 Cossack that was in my field of view. Because the Warrior Priests do have like 360 HP and 30 hand attack. They are absolutely amazing in combat. Much better than you would expect for a supposed quote-unquote healer. So he's meanwhile, the German player, or the Russian player, he has now shipped 4 Cossacks from his town center, and he is also shipping the fort.
Приказ?
Fort wagon is going to end up going up here. Just trying to create a very solid, impenetrable wall that you can't really push into. Settlers moving back. He does end up taking one there. And I'm just kind of holding back a little bit. I want these Skull Knights to pop on the enemy army. Charging in with my Explorer, and he starts to back out. And I'm just kind of letting him back out, because pretty much I've started aging to 4, and all I really need to do is to buy myself some time. I'm shipping 4 Skull Knights right now, and I really just need to buy myself some time to get my shipments out. But it is important that I am completely aware that he has a very sizable military, and that he's been very careful to not lose his military against these Skull Knights. So it's something that I need to be careful of, because if I push in too early before I get enough Skull Knights, then my entire push will fail. He has a
Что?
pretty sizable military of
Что?
13 Strelets and 17 Musketeers. At this point, he's finally researching the veterancy upgrade for them.
Что?
And out comes the fort. Looks like he forgot about it for a little bit, but I didn't even realize he shipped it until I ran right into it, so it doesn't really matter then, does it? At this point, he definitely doesn't have any military, and I definitely could have used these 9 Skull Knights to siege down the trading post very, very quickly, and in hindsight, that is something that I wish I did. Always interesting how things work in hindsight, where you're just like, oh man, I should have done that, I should have done this, I really should have done this too. It's just the way it works. You don't always think of everything in the moment. But I'm currently gathering just as much coin as I possibly can, trying to reach this 1500 coin mark to get the oh-so-important upgrade to the Skull Knights to give them extra movement speed. Now I'm up to 14 Skull Knights. Normally this would be where I'm pushing, but I am fully aware that I am fully aware that it is that the enemy is what can I think? I'm fully aware the enemy has a very sizable mass, and if I push in with only 14 Skull Knights, it's just not going to get the job done. Normally at this point I would go for the 7 and then get the 11 afterwards, but I felt like I just needed the support as soon as I possibly could. So I now put 12 over here plus 3 here for a total of 25, 15 settlers, and the 10 warrior priests to give me one of these every 10 seconds. And then I immediately realized that I don't have the population to do that anyways, so I switch it back over to XP and start chopping as much wood as I can to build the houses I need to house this very, very population-hungry strategy. Meanwhile, over here, he's still at 13 Strelets, but he's now up to 27 Musketeers. Now, he really should be making more Strelets than Musketeers, just because they do have that multiplier, but upon thinking about it, actually, they still do about the same damage, and they get absolutely shredded by the... They do about the same damage as the Musketeers, but they get shredded if the Skull Knights get close to them, so perhaps it was a better idea to make lots of Musketeers. Oh, look, he did end up making more Strelets. He's now up to 33. So that is definitely... He definitely has a very sizable and scary military. I should have put my Explorer in front here. He ends up getting trapped by the Skull Knights. But I do end up separating him. And I just kind of have him chase the Musketeer mass while I go and kill the Strelet mass. And if my armies even touch his, then it's just mass devastation. He's doing a good job of kiting me, and I decided that since I closed in here, I wanted to kill as many of these Musketeers as possible before they started backing away, and then I backed away as well. Still on the XP dance, because even after that, I am still popped out. There is 7 more Skull Knights coming in, followed by Knight Combat to give that oh-so-sexy and beautiful boost to the Skull Knight stats. And I see he backed away here, and he's just kind of preparing for the next wave at this point. He's making more Strelets. These definitely survived a lot longer because they managed to kite successfully, and the Musketeers did not. But because the Strelets actually do match the Skull Knights in movement speed, whereas the Musketeers do not, and that is an important factor. But it's just, like, most of his army is at half health at this point, on average. He tries to go in with some Cossack raids. I end up just kind of shooting it out and just kind of ignoring it, because it wasn't really that big of a deal. Move in these Skull Knights. I end up keeping like 5 Skull Knights around my base for about as much as I could. He ends up getting out with this last Cossack. Mostly just trying to be annoying. At this point, I do see he has Opernix, and I'm like, oh shit, now I really, really need to keep some of these Skull Knights back to help deal with this. Ceaseless Discharge is out, and we're pushing in. We're going to try to destroy this fort here. Now, these guys have 118 siege right now, 108 in H4, plus 10 more from the combat card. And my Explorer just goes right into the mass. I could have put him in cover mode here, but I forgot. But he just goes right into the mass. I think Yeah, he does in fact have a... Yep, there it is. And that's 3 dead just by himself. This motherfucker is an absolute tank. And so I'm just kind of trying to do some damage to his infrastructure, you know, destroy buildings that can't be replaced, and I managed to get in on the Strellet mass, and that was a pretty big loss for him. But then I do see these artillery coming in, and I recognize that I just can't deal with the artillery, so we back right back out. Coming over here, those Cossack raids did come in. They all died to the Skull Knights, and they're probably because he was distracted from up top. And I'm backing out with my army, and just kind of readjusting my eco. I'm not making any settlers in it right now because I forgot to put settlers on food. But at this point, I'm finally getting enough. I'm finally getting enough population to continuously maintain. You see, there's that healing dance again, and boom! Now my whole army is back to full health, and it's like he didn't even damage me. I'm still at 20 Skull Knights. This is a very efficient way to go about it. With those 4 Skull Knights, with these 6 Skull Knights here, after they destroyed the Opernix, they did go and destroy this trade post while we weren't looking. I see this one Cossack coming in. I don't think I do much about it. It's like it's just one Cossack. If he decides to push in, these warrior priests will destroy him. Oh, right, this is a funny moment. So I tried to double-click the warrior priest, but I ended up double-clicking my settlers, so pretty much everybody stopped gathering for a little bit, and that was really, really unfortunate. Now everybody is gathered over by the community plaza, and I have to shift tab to get that out of there. Destroying these trading posts now, just going along the bottom. I just destroyed one and got right back out. He starts to move the military down. He ships 2 heavy cannons from his town center. And at this point, he could send the factories. I'm not quite sure what he sends afterwards up to this point. But I assume those 2 Falcons were shipped. They were not. They were actually trained by the looks of it. Where is his artillery foundry? Did he ship them? Where do those 2 Falcons come from? I do remember seeing an artillery foundry at some point. So here's my mass again, just destroying his trading post. He ends up moving these settlers away from the thing, which is probably smart of him. Now, I did walk a couple of units by this mango grove, and that was a really unfortunate thing right there, because now if he was paying attention, he could have noticed this. And right afterwards, I do notice that the mango grove is right there, and so I end up trying to avoid it for the rest of the match. I'm gathering some units here to try to push in from here, going up this way, and try to get into his base right here. But this plan ended up getting cut short by him pushing. So he's got the 2 heavy cannons there. Those Skull Knights didn't... They just died immediately. These Skull Knights are coming in, but here's the thing, is my Explorer is getting on top of these cannons now. I have him targeting a heavy cannon. And now he goes for the spin attack, and boom, that's 1 Falconet just gone. Right there. And now the Skull Knights are in. Down goes the 2nd heavy cannon. Down goes his military. And down goes the 2nd Falconets. And the other heavy cannon is soon to follow. And boom, that is all of his artillery gone, thanks to that Explorer, who basically one-shot 2 of them at once. So now it's time to retreat. We've both lost our armies and we need to recuperate. I'm a little worried at the ease of which that he might be able to recuperate his, but I do have these Skull Knights still back in reserves. A lot of my units are not at full health, and my Explorer is down. It's a pretty vulnerable position for me as an Aztec player. So I trade off for a little bit over to XP to try to get the 13 shipment wall of skulls, because I've lost enough things at this point that it doesn't matter. And now that I've gotten that shipment, I trade it right back off to Skull Knight production. And I've also re-healed most of my army at this time as well. Pretty much as soon as he retreated, I healed up my whole army with that dance, except for like those two dudes who got particularly beat up. So now I'm just kind of roaming along the bottom here, looking to push in from the bottom, while the main force with the 11 shipment, with the 11 Skull Knight shipment, pushes in from the center. I saw the 2 heavy cannons, but it didn't occur to me that he could have shipped them from his deck, so I rethought he had factories at this point. So that's what these Skull Knights here are going to aim for. They're going to try to push into the base from the bottom and spot a whole bunch of factories, and now we're back up to 23 Skull Knights up here. So we go and grab the Explorer. While these guys push in from the bottom, they are now within view, but he doesn't quite see them yet. Oh, he does see them. Pops all of his settlers into his town center and starts moving his army back, but unfortunately that is just the wrong decision, because these guys are coming up from the front. I went around here trying to look for a factory, couldn't find one, so at that point I concluded that he probably shipped them, and I went to go siege down this town center, because if I can destroy this town center, then that'll put him in a very vulnerable position. Meanwhile, these guys just finished getting this coin mine over here, and they're just kind of chilling there. But down goes his blockhouse, down goes some of his houses, and in comes my Explorer. Once again, just using that swashbuckler attack, trying to keep the enemy snared so that the Skull Knights can get on top of them without too much issue, and his whole army just dissipates right here. At this point, I've destroyed his town center. I've destroyed his stable, killing these settlers, and I'm controlling all of these groups separately. I end up just killing this lot with the Explorer, because he's just that good, and end up taking down this right here, and he now has no military buildings anywhere, and he realizes this, and it's a very, very bad position. This Explorer this one dude ends up saving his own life by killing the Explorer with 45 attack while he had 17 HP. I was really shocked about this. What a lucky motherfucker. But now I'm just kind of destroying all of his buildings. And at this point, the game starts to go downhill for the Russia player. So he's just trying to scatter himself around the map to see if he can try to recover economically. At this point, I've run out of Skull Knight shipments that I can send, so I'm sending Coyote Combat, and I'm researching elite Coyote runners, because at this point, Coyote runners are pretty much the best thing to synergize with Skull Knights, because they can help deal with skirmishers. Unfortunately, this, we don't really ever get to see this. But you see my Explorer is coming back, and as soon as that Explorer is back, we switch it over to the Healing Dance, and boom, just like that, all of my Skull Knights are back to full health, like they were never even injured. I cannot stress how absolutely valuable that is as an ability that you can do. In hindsight, I probably could have just sent the 15 Coyote Runners card, and it would have done a lot better than Coyote Combat. One of those things that is just easy to see in hindsight, but not at the time. I should have just sent 50 Coyotes. And here's where I start to spot his houses. I figure at this point that he's probably moved up to this north side, but in fact he's actually down here. He's making horse artillery, shipping falconets, and getting ready to do a last stand kind of push into my base to see if he can destroy my economy and stop my production of this absolutely monstrous unit. I'm still producing Skull Knights. I have like 6 right here. And my Explorer is towards the top of the map. I end up passing right by these villagers, but I didn't actually spot them with my Explorer. I'm going to take Fog of War back off. I find these settlers and I chase them. I thought they were running back towards like a town center in the hidden corner of the map, but there's not enough space for a town center here, and so I just figured I'll kill them, and that will be that. And so now I'm trying to think, where else could he hide a town center, because I've explored most of this map at this point, so I figured the only place is up here, maybe, and then down here, and then right as I was thinking down there, I see these 3 heavy horse artillery and the falconet walking up towards my base, so I march over to the Skull Knights and try to see if I can take down these Falconets, but unfortunately it doesn't really come to much, just because of the multipliers. So all of these kind of stay alive. Oh, I did end up killing one, but there's still 4 kind of big boy artillery hanging around my base, and I can't just send one dude at them. I don't really have anything that I can train in a timely manner. See, there's just one dude walking up and just immediately dying. So, I just block Ceaseless Discharge into them, and he takes care of it. Meanwhile, I know that he's down here now, so I'm just marching my military over, trying to get everybody over. And here, watch this. Explorer, boom, there is the Explorer dance coming on, because I knew I'd need quite a bit of help. And boom, just absolutely destroyed the enemy artillery right here. It really wasn't even close. They ended up actually going through a good chunk of his HP, but unfortunately Ceaseless Discharge is just a huge badass, and then by this time my military is in his buildings and he just can't do anything except resign. Now if we look at the post-game here, I ended up having a huge score lead on him, but that's nothing unusual, seeing as I won. That's generally how wins go. But more importantly, he gathered like over twice the resources I did, but it just doesn't matter because Skull Knights don't cost resources; they just cost villager seconds at the thingamajigger. Now here's an interesting one that I absolutely loved. He made 109 Strelets. Now Russia is really known for like just spamming these guys to absolute death, and I know he made lots of Musketeers, but it really made me like happy to see that I had just 3 less Skull Knights than he had Strelets. Really brought a smile to my face there. And then there's nothing particularly interesting about the timeline except maybe villager population to try to watch his raids. He ended up getting 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5 settlers through raids, and then he got 2 at the end with those Falconets. And yeah, that is more or less just this strategy. You don't need resources. You don't need other, like military buildings. All you need is a fire pit, a whole bunch of houses, 1 war hut to defend yourself, and 10 warrior priests. And that is how you defend against a Russia rush. Lots of age who's going with lots of age 2 aggression is you basically just throw your explorer at it and call it good. I really liked this game, once again, because it was showing off really just the full extent of the Community Plaza. The Community Plaza is, in my opinion, the absolute most important thing about the Aztec civilization. Is every single thing the Aztecs do rely on this Community Plaza to an amazing extent. And I think this game is a good representation of that and all that it can achieve. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and please subscribe if you're new. Have a nice day, guys. Bye.